But, you know, there are as many characteristics in mushrooms as you could possibly imagine. And, you know, it's why mycology is a humbling experience, because they always win. Just when you think you've ID'd something, you'll see, oh, no, it can't be, because it's got this bruising reaction. Or I've looked at it microscopically and the spores are wrong. You know, it's enormously complex, but just as enormously rewarding.
Is it because there's just so many different kinds of mushrooms?
There are estimated of 1,500,000, of which 500,000 are above the ground. In the Northeast, probably somewhere in the vicinity of 10,000 different species above ground. Now, I've only done this in a desultory manner at Wachusett Meadow Audubon Sanctuary, going a couple of times a year for the last 6 or 7 years, and we're up to 467. No, I added 10 more last weekend. 477 different mushroom species.
Now, do you have a degree in mycology?
No, I do not have a degree in mycology.
What is your
that's why I'm so passionate about it.
What is your degree?
I would have descended into the level of petit mal academic if I had a degree and spent all my time, as academics now in mycology do, working in cladistics, DNA, etc., getting government grants and never leaving their laboratories, and thus not seeing how fungi connect with the environment. It's only sort of naturalists with a passion for mushrooms who are really seeing this connection. Your average academic only sees a connection between the Department of Mycology and the Department of Botany.
What did you study?
Well, I have several degrees. I have a doctorate in literature, but I have also an undergraduate degree in archaeology, BA, but a BA in English as well. I had a double major, and then I went on to graduate school in literature. No, not because I particularly wanted to be an academic, but because it was the period of the Vietnam War and I could be deferred.
So now, what do you do?
What do I do?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none. I work as a freelance writer. I write travel articles, I write natural history articles, I do books. I write introductions to other people's books.
So you're a writer, basically.
I'm a writer,
Wow.
but at this time of year I'm a mycologist, and every weekend day between now and mid-November I'm booked with some sort of mycological event, be it an indoor lecture with slides or a walk such as I did today.
So all over New England? Or?
All over New England. From the wilds of Vermont to the wilds of New Hampshire to the wilds of Cambridge's Fresh Pond.
Okay, gotcha.
Now,
so yeah, go ahead.
One of the great books that Larry wrote was called Last Places, which is when he follows the route of the Vikings to America, stopping off in Orkneys, Faroes, Iceland, and Newfoundland and Labrador.
And Greenland.
You can explain a little bit more about
okay,
that.
now, so you wrote this book.
Shetlands, yes. This
Yeah.
is a book where I followed the old Viking sea route across the North Atlantic. And I wasn't really that interested in the Vikings. I was interested in what was going on in the places they visited today. And so I went to the farthest, most remote parts. I have a great interest in remoteness. It could well be because I've come to conclude that nature is more important than human beings. And you find in remote places more nature and fewer humans than you find in packed, so-called civilized places.
Well, why do you say that?
Why do I say what?
Say that nature's more important than human beings.
Well, if it wasn't for nature, there wouldn't be humans, and we're quickly overpowering nature, with the result is something dreadful is going to happen to our species in, my guess, the not-too-distant future. Plus, I can relate to nature better than I can relate to people,
Okay,
with some exceptions. You know, you very seldom find a mushroom.
Are you happiest when you're like out in the
Oh,
Arctic
absolutely.
alone?
Well, or alone with
a
several
couple of-
like-minded people.
Got it.
Absolutely.
That's when you're the happiest.
Absolutely. Anything more than about 4 people, and you know, I start to feel it's getting to be crowded.
Are you amazed that few people actually go up that far and really go and enjoy it
No, because there are no hair salons, no manicure places,
Okay.
no car
But
washes.
maybe that's better that way, though.
It's
because
better
then it
that way.
keeps
They
them
don't
down
have
here.
the places don't have what's known as amenities,
Yeah.
and you can't drive there for one thing. And some people are now surgically affixed to their vehicles, and they couldn't go anywhere. They couldn't drive.
Oh, sure.
So I'm not amazed at all. I'm surprised that as many people as get up there as do. Many of them now going in cruise ship. In my day, I hustled and clawed to get to some very remote places. Subtle acts of bribery, greasing the palms, and now almost all these places are being visited by cruise ships. And I have to admit to being a partial culprit because I've lectured on these cruise ships, and that's another source, has been another source of my income.
But you know what? When you really think about it, aren't they kind of like, if you're going to go, that would probably be the best way to go because it's a self-contained.
Absolutely.
They're not leaving anything.
That's absolutely true. No, you're here one day and gone the next.
And another interest I had was because I like to kayak. I asked Larry after I met him if he wanted to kayak with me, and he said he had a sickness that the Inuit have a word for it. What's the word for it?
Let's see. Nangyarksuk, which means
Nanyaksuk.
yeah, it means fall over, roll over sickness. It's not a real sickness. It's a feeling where it's like seasickness. Your semicircular membranes get disoriented when the horizon and the sea, there's no horizon. You just see gray. And you feel slightly nauseous, and this was an excuse early on, and because it happened to me when I was kayaking the East Greenland in the mid '80s, but it hasn't happened to me since. But I still use it as an excuse because I think I would have pursued a greater interest in kayaking if it didn't become a growth sport. But because it's so popular with people who don't know what the Inuit are and probably don't know where kayaks come from, I haven't pursued it. Now, that's a little perverse because you might say, aren't you depriving yourself of a certain amount of joy? And I would argue in turn that I find probably more interest being on land than being on the water. I can see more, I can stop, I can pick something up, I can, relax, I can lie down, go to sleep. You go to sleep in your kayak and you might wake up in the next world.